Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the American Tier 6 medium tank, the M4A3E8 Sherman, which is thankfully also known as the Easy 8. Is the Easy 8 any good? Yeah, it is. It's a good tank. It's not my favourite Tier 6 medium tank. There's other Tier 6 mediums I prefer to drive, but this is a good tank. Now it has 750 hit points, which is about average for Tier 6 medium. The least hit points goes to the German VK3001P, which only has 710 hit points, and the most goes to the other German VK3002M, that has 840 hit points. Now, weight-wise, it weighs in around 30 tonne, which is about average, maybe a little bit less for a Tier 6 medium. The lightest is the A43 and actually the Cromwell as well. They're both 28 tonne. The heaviest by far, though, is the VK3002M with 42 tonnes. Never rammed German tanks. Speed-wise, this thing does 48 km an hour in forward and 18 km an hour in reverse, and it does reach that speed on the flat. It's a good figure. Power-to-weight ratio on this tank is actually pretty good. The fastest listed tank is the Cromwell with 64 km an hour in forward, and it is a much more mobile tank than this, but this tank is still quite mobile. Now, for example, the T3485, this one here, is listed as having a 54 km an hour forward speed. However, when I've been driving next to Easy 8s, or I've been in Easy 8 driving next to one of these with a clanmate, they accelerate pretty much identically and they reach pretty much an identical speed. It's only downhill where the T3485 actually starts to pull away. So track traverse is 40 degrees a second, which is pretty good. It's probably on the upper side of average or above average. And that combined with the speed power to weight ratio of the tank makes it pretty maneuverable, and you can circle other tanks. That's also helped, of course, by the 41 degrees a second turret traverse, which is also about average. The best turret traverse goes to the A43 with 50 degrees a second, and the worst goes to the Panzer R3, the premium one, which only has 25 degrees a second. View range on this tank is 370 metres, which is the equal best in class. But when you say equal best, well, half of the Tier 6 mediums have 370 metres view range. The rest of them all have about 360, except for the Panzer 454, which is a premium tank and only has 350 metre view range. So they're all pretty similar at this tier. The signal range of 615 is on the lower side of average, but it's still not bad and is quite adequate. Never had a problem with the signal range. Camouflage wise, this tank is about average for its tier. It's definitely not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. The worst is the VK3002M, the big German medium, and it's fair enough, it's a big heavy tank. And the best in class is the Cromwell. That's the best by a fair way. So this one's probably smack in the middle of those two. Now, gun depression wise, this tank has fantastic gun depression. It has 12 degrees of gun depression, which is the best in class. The next best would be the Cheeto and perhaps the Jumbo, the other Tier 6 American medium. They both have 10 degrees, so 12 degrees is a pretty big advantage. It's a little bit hard to use that advantage on hill fighting with this tank, though, simply because the turret is mounted pretty much in the dead centre of the tank, rather than being in the front half of the tank, which kind of makes it better as a hill fighter to have the turret further forward, because the gun is close to the hull. So to get your gun pointing at the enemy, you kind of still have to expose the top part of your hull most of the time. But that said, the front top of the hull is really heavily sloped, and so if you are looking down at them, it will bounce shots anyway, because it's not too bad, and being so heavily sloped while you're pointing over a hill, it's not too bad. Alright, so let's have a look at the grind for this tank while we're at it. Now, as usual with these American tanks, I've been basically going straight to the top engine and straight to the top radio, so I can't tell you what it was like before that. The track traverse is definitely worth getting. It takes you from 37 to 40 on the track traverse, which is a pretty big bonus. Now, guns on this tank are probably a bit of a weakness of the tank, the gun, in some ways, and I'll talk about that now. So, you do have the howitzer style gun, which is the one you had on the M4, the tank before this, which is basically, fires HE and heat ammunition. But the stats for the gun, as far as the penetration damage wise go and the accuracy, is exactly the same as it was on the Tier 5 version. And now that we're in Tier 6 and we come up against Tier 8s and stuff, the tank just isn't, the gun isn't reliable enough. It doesn't do reliable damage to tanks enough now that it's a tier higher. So really, I don't think that gun's worth considering. You will have this gun. You may actually even start with this gun, the M1A1, which really is pretty similar to the gun you end up with. It has a 14.29 rate of fire, 128mm of penetration, and 115 damage per shot. Accuracy of 0.43 and an aiming time of 2.3. Now the top gun on this tank is also a 76mm. It's the M4A3E8, so it's an improved version of the gun. The rate of fire goes from 14.29 up to 18.18, which I think might actually be the highest rate of fire of any of the tier 6 medium tanks. It is a very good rate of fire. So if you like tanks with a high rate of fire, this may be the tank for you. The penetration of 128 is the same as on the M1A1 and is a little bit low. It's not the lowest. I think it's the second or equal second lowest pen. The lowest I think is the A43 Russian, which is a kind of a weird tank. I think that only has about 115 or something pen. But then there's this one, and I can't remember what the tank is. Someone else also has 128. Everyone else has better pen. So it is low pen. You can get up to 177 with premium ammunition if you want to fork out the money. I don't. So 128. It just means that, especially against tier 7s, a lot of the tier 7 heavies you cannot penetrate frontally at all. Now, it does 115 per shot, which is also on the low side for a tier 6 medium. So you kind of got lowish penetration combined with lowish damage, but you've got a high rate of fire. The accuracy of 0.4 is better than the M1A1, but it's still not good. And the aim time of 2.3 is the same. And the aim time 2.3 isn't too bad in this tank. It works out okay. But my problem with this gun is that the lowish pen combined with poor accuracy is a problem. Because if I'm accurate, but I've got low pen, well, I can aim at weak spots and I've got a pretty good chance of hitting those weak spots and still penetrating the tank. But when I've got poor accuracy as well as poor pen, I'm going to aim at weak spots and probably miss them. And that's the problem with this tank. So you really need to be hitting the sides and backs of most tanks. And 115 damage isn't a lot, so you need to hit them a lot. Alright, that's about as much as I need to tell you, I think, about that. This tank gets tracked a lot. Even inexplicably, being hit in the center of your hull around here, somehow, with a standard AP round, tracks you. The turret also gets locked reasonably often, which I was surprised about, because it does have a collar, protective collar, around protecting the turret ring. But it does get locked fairly frequently. So, and hits to almost anywhere on this tank can track it. So, pays to have a repair kit, and maybe train your crew in repairs to help out with that a little bit. As I said, the gun does have great gun depression, and it does hill fight very well. And I'll talk a little bit more about the armor when I have a look in Tank Inspector. But it is quite bouncy for a medium tank. The way I mostly played this was to stay in cover when possible, use hills whenever possible, and try and outflank opponents. What we'll do now is have a look in Tank Inspector, and then we'll get in and have a look at some gameplay after that. It wouldn't be one of my reviews if I didn't forget to tell you about the stats of the crew. So the crew at the moment is fully trained. If it's any different to that in the gameplay, I'll let you know. The commander's actually currently working on 6th Sense. I was a bit stingy and didn't want to spend money, so I actually started training him on that from the word go, but he's 99%, so he actually hasn't got 6th Sense in any of the games you're going to see. The gunner is 99% snapshot. This guy driving 99% smooth ride. The radio up is 99% situational awareness to boost the view range, and the loader is 99% camouflage. So bit of a mixture there. Alright, and I've got vents fitted and camouflage net and binoculars fitted. That's probably okay if you're going to do sniping. The tank's not great at sniping because of the poor accuracy, so you probably would want to fit other modules, and I would probably fit different modules if I was going to keep the tank. Have a small repair kit, large repair kit, and a large first aid kit fitted. The Easy 8 in Tank Inspector. Let's go straight to that colorized view. The lower part of the hull is, in the front at least, 101mm thick, which is pretty darn good. It is also sloped quite well in the upper portion. The upper hull is 64mm, which isn't very thick. It is very well sloped though, and if you're using it hill fighting, as you can see here, where I'm sort of not as low as you would be if it was hill fighting you, but it's coming up as 88 there, 80, in the 80s and even 90s. You'll have more than that, so it will come up around about 100 when you are using your full gun depression, which is not too bad. When that happens, there will be a little bit of this visible as well, and this is a bit of a weakness, this part of the turret. It is 76mm thick. It actually extends right up over the front of the roof here. Now that is very good to have that sloped portion of the roof as 76, and you can see that's coming up way over 100. That's great, but having it extend under the gun here, I wish that part was a bit thicker. Now the mantler is very, very good though. As you can see, we've got 89mm overlaying the 76mm underneath, and that is for a lot of tanks you'll see at tier 6 and even tier 7s pretty much impenetrable. However, this part here, the sides, are pretty weak at 51mm, and even though it is heavily rounded and angled, it's still a fairly easy pen even from directly in front, so you kind of got to watch the flanks of your turret. The cupola is also the same, 51mm, and can be fairly easily penetrated, but thankfully, although it looks big in this colorized view, when you actually look at the tank, it's not that big and not that noticeable, the cupola, and I don't find that I was getting shot in the cupola a lot. I think it's also helped by the fact that when you are hill fighting, you can see the cupola almost disappears, and in fact would almost entirely disappear when you're using your full gun depression. The sides of the tank are incredibly weak at only 38mm thick. Now, I've got this set up as a 105mm gun, so you can see here we're getting a ricochet, and this is about the maximum angle you want to angle this tank on. But if someone's got a 120mm or larger gun, they will automatically pen the side here due to overmatching. So if you're against Russian tanks, for example, be very, very careful about exposing any part of your side of your tank at all. The rear of the tank is 38mm, and the lower portion here is only 13mm, so anybody, even a low tier scout, can penetrate you there. The top of the tank is 20, and the top of the turret is 25. Getting hit in the sides of the tanks too by things like Panzer IV-H, or really anybody who fires HE, can completely smash your tank. So when you see someone firing HE ammo, do not angle at all. Make sure you're completely front on. They'll still hit you, still do damage, but not as much. Alright, let's get into some gameplay.
Time to roll out.
The map is Lakeville, and it's a tier 7 game. The enemy has 3 tier 7s on their team, and we also have 3. So I'm in my tier 6 Easy 8 American medium tank. The reason I'm showing you this particular game is not because I play brilliantly, I don't, but it's a really good demonstration of the strengths and the weaknesses of the armor on this tank. The armor can be surprisingly good, but you need to use the front of the tank and not expose the sides of the tank. The sides are particularly weak. Just decided to put one out there. A lot of tanks don't get spotted when they first come through, so I've decided to sit back and snipe in the early parts of the game because it is a tier 7 game. I just didn't want the tank to get blown up at the start of the game. And you can see there that when I was firing, I wasn't silly. There are tanks just coming through there. I was blind firing. Probably didn't hit any of them, but still not a bad idea to do it. Terrible aiming by me. I shot way too late. I wasn't leading the target enough. Finally got him when he was stationary though. Just putting a few out there, more out there just in case there's someone there. And looks like we've got people coming through the valley. Not trying to, but we've got tanks there, so that should be okay. So we haven't really spotted anything in the town yet. So our heavies are in town, so I'm just sort of sitting back and waiting to see what develops at this stage. I just don't want to be one of the first tanks spotted on the front line and get wasted by tier 7 tanks who could penetrate pretty much any part of my armour. Now I decide it's time to move in, I noticed there's a couple of their big heavies are at the valley. So I figure it's probably not too bad a time to move in, and maybe we've got one tank on cap. Maybe we could see if we can put more pressure on by capping. So you can see there's a KV-85 there. So using my gun depression, and we put a shot into him, and you can see there the KV-85 actually bounces off. So let's see if we can see. And you can see there, just hitting the top, he was probably going for our cupola. We hit the KV-85 again in the turret, and he doesn't have a chance to return fire, but we don't actually do any damage to him. Jackson, and we get a nice one to the Jackson. So you see the gun depression works really well here. And BDR, fantastic tier 5 French tank. We get a shot into him, he can't return fire, but the VK on the left there is now behind the church, manages to fire at us, and we do bounce his shot. We fire at the Jackson and miss. And you can see pretty much top of our mantlet is where everyone has been shooting us. We get one of the Jackson. Jackson bounces off us again. It looks like he bounced off our mantlet. The reason it's red is he probably did some damage to our gun, even though it didn't do any actual hit point damage to us. Now we just bounced off the M6. I fired at the Jackson, but the M6 pulled back and it actually hit the M6, and we also just bounced another shot off the Jackson. Look at the turret, all those bounces there. Now, I'm probably getting a bit overconfident going around this far. It was a bit silly of me. I really want to get that Lux, and I've exposed myself to the M6, and he puts one into me. And that's gone into my hull there. Frontally in the hull, and yeah, not good. That was bad play by me. I went out too far. I got too adventurous. And I come out here for the Jackson, but I make the big mistake of showing him the side of my tank. Sure, I get one into him, but he does a lot more damage than I do to him. Now I'm being a bit more careful, trying to get the front part of my tank to him. And we bounce off him. Someone else manages to nail the Jackson. The French BDR is also down. I fire at the M6, bounce off him. I think I bounced or missed, and he doesn't have any trouble penetrating us. And you can see that he's gone through the upper part of the hull. And that's the part where I tell you that even though it's got great gun depression, you still, because the turret is in the middle rather than the front of the tank, you still have to sometimes show a bit of your hull to be able to shoot at your opponents. Unfortunately, we bounced there, so whilst it has great gun depression, it doesn't have great gun penetration. And especially, you know, some tier 6 and 7s you can have trouble, and tier 8s can be a nightmare trying to penetrate sometimes. That's a better shot, and we get him near the track. Then he actually bounces off us as well. Looks like the very top centre of our turret there he's bounced off. Once again, it probably did a bit of damage to our gun or something. And whoa, the Tigers come round on us. We did just bounce another shot off the T-34-1, so you can see the armour has been working fantastically, but my number's up now. I didn't reload in time, and yeah, he just rushed me. And that's the thing in his tank, you can't overcome being rushed, especially if there's more than one of them. So it wasn't a fantastic game. We did manage to get Confederate, but we did bounce quite a few shots, as you can see. So it does show how good the armor can be, but it also shows, you know, it doesn't bounce everything. So how much damage did we actually bounce? Actually, we did a bit of spotting there too, didn't we? How much did we bounce? Have a guess. Next screen, you'll have to wait for the next screen. We finished about 4th for XP in the game, and we didn't do that much damage really. But I think we played a good role in the game and did help our team to win. So 27 shots fired, which is a lot. 15 of those were direct hits, and 10 of the 15 penetrated. We did 886 damage, is that? And we received 11 hits. Only 4 of those 11 hits penetrated. When you consider a lot of the tanks that were firing at us were heavy tanks and tank destroyers, that's pretty good. We blocked 1,830 hit points of damage with our armor, which, considering we have 750 hit points and a medium tank at the front line, that's pretty good considering what we're shooting at us. Enemy vehicles, we spotted 5 and we damaged 7 vehicles. We didn't destroy anybody though. And we got a little bonus there, but without that bonus we would have made about 15,000 profit, which I suppose we didn't do a lot of damage, and we didn't get a lot of spotting damage, so I suppose that's fair enough. We didn't earn that much. 671 XP was a third class.
Time to roll out.
The map is Ruinberg, and it is once again a tier 7 game, although there's only 2 tier 7s, so I decided to move forward. I'm on the in the field, which is pretty much where the mediums and lights go, and generally the heavies go into town. It's normally how things go. I'm just driving along the tree line to keep myself concealed from early spotters who push the ridge there. So as you see, the tank moves pretty well. It's pretty mobile, gets around okay. Now I'll come up here to see if I can get some early spots from any TDs or lights trying to move through the town there, but I'm just going to speed it up a bit because nobody comes. Bit of an unusual game, this one. Even our team has played it unusually. I'm going to slow it back to normal speed now. But nobody really came up and pushed, considering they've got a couple of chaffies and a bunch of mediums. The fact nobody came and scouted up here at all is bizarre. Basically a recipe for disaster from their point of view from the field. Now, there's a M4A3E8 just there. I just put one straight into him. He doesn't turn his turret. He's obviously fixated on someone. Now, at this point, I think, oh, the guy's AFK.
Penetration.
He's got to be AFK, I'm thinking to myself.
Enemy armor is hit.
But wait for it, his turret moves. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he was AFK and he just managed to get back in his tank, but I don't know if he was just fixating on somebody else and not realising that he was losing all his health.
Enemy is hit.
It does happen to me sometimes. I don't even realise that I'm getting hit sometimes, but I mean, yeah, not that bad.
We didn't penetrate.
So as you can see, the KV-85, when he was angled we couldn't pen him, but we're getting him now that he's pretty much front onto us. I think we're getting him on the flatter upper plate there, KV-1S.
Enemy is hit.
Shoot through the crack there in the building. And a KV-13, which I think is the Russian medium tank. We're getting an orange indicator there, so bit of a tougher target. Back to the Churchill 7, who is flat onto us, but he was turning his turret, so I was hoping to hit in his the weak spot where his gun is. Bit hard to get. There's a bit of stuff in front of this Cromwell. It's a bit hard to get a shot on him. With this accuracy of this gun, it's going to be a miracle if I actually hit him. And it looks like we're going over the top of him. So someone on our team has started capping in the centre there. Nashorn.
Penetration.
Oh, now he hit me there. That's interesting because I thought I was covered by these bushes because I'm a fair way back from them, more than 15 metres. I actually bounced off him there. But yeah, their team's under all sorts of pressure now. Chaffee there moving through. Their Chaffee stayed right at the back and tried to snipe. Probably cost them the game, I think. And we actually get the kill on Chaffee there. That was not bad aiming from me for once. Alright, so I've done a fair bit of damage without actually having to move. Now, I thought about maybe just charging down that other side of the map, and I thought, nah, there's probably the Hellcat and somebody just waiting there, because like they didn't send any scouts up here, so they're probably somebody waiting there, and I'm not going to drive straight into them. So I decided to head down this way, see if I can get some flanking shots on the heavies in town. Tiger 1's behind buildings, our guys are there, so we've got a fairly forward position at the moment, so I decided to move up and maybe see if I can get behind the enemy or something by darting down this other street. I can see we have got a tank of ours fighting the KV-13 way over on the right there. There's a Hellcat being spotted, so maybe I can get a shot on the Hellcat on the right here. And oh, hell, is that a KV-2? Oh no, it's a KV-2. I shoot at the front wheel trying to track it, and I just completely bounced. And now I'm trying to find the weak spots on his turret, the flat spots there. I'm getting a couple of shots in. I am tracked. I'm waiting for my tracks to repair so I can get the hell out of here. Now, he turns his gun away from me. Why? I don't know. I mean, I know he's got a long reload, but why would you turn your gun away like that? I don't know. Are all the people in this game AFK? Well, obviously he's not AFK when he shot me, but I don't know what he was doing. Anyway, he's dead. Oh, do we have another tank over there? No, I don't know. I think Artie got him anyway, but that was bizarre. Alright, so now there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team. It's been a walkover. I decided to go left here because I can see other guys are in front of me on the right already, and I'm going to take a chance that maybe Artie, being an FV304, is waiting down this alleyway. Actually, FV304 is now the only tank left, and yeah, there he is. And we actually managed to hit. That was a miracle shot. Alright, so I'm in hot pursuit. I want to get the kill here. The Hellcat's being cautious, whereas I know I don't have to be because I saw him go around the corner. So basically I'm just going to drive up and shoot him. Get my front, make sure my front armor is pointing at him when I go around this corner. What the?
Bail out. This vehicle is had it.
Sneaky bugger. I thought he went around the corner at the end of the building, but he actually just went into that little entryway. Ah. So a class 2 badge for that game, and we managed to get Confederate and high caliber as well. We ended up on top for XP and of course on top for damage. That's the whole point of getting high caliber. And we fired 34 shots, which is quite a lot, so it does have a rapid rate of fire, this gun. 26 of those hit, which is not too bad considering the poor accuracy of the gun. And 24 of the 26 that hit did penetrate. We did a total of 2,340 damage, which is pretty good for a tier 6 medium. Some of that, 760, was at long range. We received 3 hits, they all penetrated because we weren't really using our our superior gun depression to do the shooting in this occasion. We damaged 8 tanks, destroying 1, and a little bit of assistance damage, not much. Well, if we take off the 11,000 that we got for a mission reward, we would have made about 29,000-30,000, which is not bad. It's not huge, but it's not bad income. We got a total of, was that 959 XP, which is enough for class 2. I didn't actually ever manage to get better than class 1 in this tank, and I can't off the top of my head remember how much XP that was. I just had a quick look, and 1,050 was the best XP I got, and that was a class 1. So yeah, and look, if you like the tank, you probably would get it. It's quite possible to get mastery. I think you know, it's a good tank. It just doesn't particularly suit my game style. Thank you for watching my review of the Easy 8. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Especially you, Sir Laugh a Lot, who I was talking to while I was making this review. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.